hello, everybody out there. My name is Benjamin. I am a dream wizard, self-appointed. Um, I have a history, 20 years working in psychology, degree that got me into the field. And a little bit ago, I decided to take a stab at doing real psychological dream interpretations on the internet and writing books about dreams and changing the career path. So I'm legit. I'm the crazy guy on the internet who actually believes he is a wizard, and that has special meaning to me. I think there are other people who are wizards out there. I think it's metaphorical. In nature primarily. I mean, I'm not going to conjure any fireballs, except Fireball whiskey, which you can go to my locals page and get the recipe for that. The Dream Wizard's Fireball cider. Um, I did conjure that one, actually. I take it all back. I do conjure fireballs. I'm sorry. You can tell I don't take myself too seriously. I'm a mixture of that kind of, does he really believe what he says? Yes. Is he really that crazy? Yes. It's all true. It's all true. So anyway, that's kind of the brief introduction to me. I do. Oh, I also play video games, but it's mostly just to do little commercials for my books. So I've been doing AI music lately, taking classic, famous poetry and making it into AI music. I just kind of discovered that, and I'm like, and now I'm fascinated by it. I got like 30 songs up so far. One that most people might recognize is Shakespeare's Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That immediately, when I considered that, I'm looking at the lyrics, I'm reading the poem, and what came to my mind was Stevie Wonder. And so I made it in a kind of Stevie Wonder style of quasi funk, blues rock, love song. And it's genius. It's on there. It's on the so my YouTube channel is at Benjamin the Dream Wizard, just like on the screen here. Also, you can go to benjaminthedreamwizard.com. I'll keep talking. You cut me off anytime. But last thing here, the AI music is youtube.com/at real AI radio. And that's where I'm taking classic poetry, putting it to epic AI beats. And I'm very impressed with my work, if I do say so myself. That's kind of me. I think you just got a little taste of who I am and what I do. So,
Okay.
right.
Well, tell us about your book.
Well, so this is a stack of 17 I have 17 currently available works of historical dream literature. So you just take this one, the most recent, book 17, and you can probably tell it's backwards here. Here's a little thing about me. When I look at myself on the camera and I raise my right hand, I have to see it like a mirror. If I was reversed, it would drive me crazy. So I flipped it around. So that means everything is reversed. So that actually does say the fabric of dreams backwards. And these books are, this one's like pushing, well over 300 pages. It's got what do you call it? The index in the back where you can look up all the terms. And these are historical reproductions. So this one, The Fabric of Dreams, was written by Catherine Taylor Craig. My current edition of it is from 2023. Her original edition was from 1918. So I'm taking old out of print works, updating them in a modern format. And you can see I don't know if you can see, they're dense and very well formatted. I made sure you go on Amazon and you look for historical literature of this type. And what you're going to find is a lot of people go to university archives. They take the PDF scan of the original book and they just slap that on a page. They're not actually doing the work to edit, format, update. These have, I write a foreword for each one. I do all the, custom page notations for the index in the back. And I add additional footnotes referencing, like, maybe I know who a certain historical figure is, but I'm not going to assume the reader does. And sometimes I don't know. And so I go look it up. Like, that's fascinating. Let's put it in a footnote. Who is that guy? Why does he matter in this historical context? So each one of these is a different book by different authors. The World of Dreams by Havelock Ellis is probably one of the most famous, but I like to mix it up a bit. So we've got one called Dreams in Homer and Greek Tragedy. That was book 14, I think, back in 2022. There's a tremendous amount of translated Greek that I had to reconstruct by hand, one letter at a time. It was fascinating work. I very much enjoyed it. But this guy's doctoral dissertation describing how the ancient world, antiquity, how they understood dreams, dreaming, sleep in terms of their mythology, current religious system, and their literature at the time, and their literature was mostly spoken word. It was plays and epic poetry like the Odyssey and the Iliad. So you take those examples, and that's where how we learned about what they believed about sleep and dreams. And they had a multiple different gods. Um, I believe the chief deity was Oniros, and then under him were his children, and they brought, you know, good dreams or nightmares, or they represented, you know, and sleep and death were considered to be brothers. And so on the cover of this is a famous painting of the god of sleep and the god of death lying next to each other on a bed. Very so and I also try to put, you know, put on the cover of things, like on the cover of this one here, you can see, what is that yellow square down there? That is I'm glad I got my own books for reference. Cover art is a um it is an actual tapestry, I think, that was weaved. So this is a picture of like a carpet, like a tapestry you would hang on the wall. And it was originally titled The Dream of Rinaldo, from 1751 by Francois Boucher. Um, so I try to throw as much dense, make the books as dense as I can with rich, you know, meaning and understanding and things like that. So that's, I'll ramble. You let me ramble, I'll ramble. So it's
Well, so
I'll stop there.
you don't read, like, for instance, if I told you I had a dream, or you know, do you read them, or I have to read your books?
Oh, no, no, yeah. I actually on part of what I do on YouTube is actual dream interpretation interviews. So you would bring a dream to me, we sit down, we talk about it, and then we try and figure out what it means together using real psychology and my own intuitions, of symbolism and how they might relate. And what I do is, and I don't want to make sure your audience knows and everybody knows, none of these answers are in me. I don't have that kind of psychic powers.
Mm.
I don't hear the voice of God. I don't talk to spirits. I'm not, well, let me get possessed and give you a message. I'm not that guy. We're just going to talk about it and see what makes sense to you. And it's always personal. So I give an example sometimes where, you know, if you go to a dream book, and nothing against dream books, I don't think they're accurate because it is highly unlikely the same symbol means the same thing to everybody. Now
Mm.
that's variable because humans are human, and we do have specific physical relationships to, say, water or food. There's categories they fit into, and we can start there to suss things out. But if you go to a dream book and you look up seashells, and this is not in any dream book that I know of, I'm making it up off the top of my head, but if that says, oh, you're worried about money, finances, seashells means you're worried about money. Maybe you are, maybe not. Now, maybe we start talking about it and you're like, I had a dream about seashells. Like, well, where were you? We were on the beach. Who's we? Me and my grandfather. Oh, I used to go collect seashells with my grandfather. Oh, I miss him. Why are you thinking about your grandfather lately? Well, he gave me some great advice. Well, what advice did he give you that might apply to what you're going through right now? And bam, we nail it down. It's like my grandfather appeared in my dream to give me a message about something he told me 20 years ago, and it's going to help me get through a current struggle. And we got an answer, and we did it together. And it's none of that is in me, it's in you. People just invite me into their head to stand behind their shoulder with a flashlight looking around going, hey, do you see what I see over there? What if we look at it from this angle? That's it. That's the magic. No, and I think it is magic, though. I think that's really what magic is, when two people come together and we can create a common understanding out of something that was a complete mystery. How does that happen? I don't know. But we just do it and it works. I'm blown away constantly. I love that feeling. I get a zing myself too when someone goes, dude, I get it now. And I'm like, I know, right? Isn't that the best?
Well, I have a mystery for you.
Sure, sure.
I've been having deja vus,
Mm,
dreams of the same deja vus, and what's the other thing? Yeah, mainly deja vus. I'm a massage therapist, and I
mm,
travel, and I was in Richmond City in Virginia, and all of a sudden, this neighborhood, I had this intense feeling that I've been there before. I'm from New York, so I've never been to,
mm.
I moved to Virginia. So the only time I've been to Richmond is when I go to, when I go to Richmond.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
my client who lives in this neighborhood, it's an old neighborhood, is, when Richmond, the old part of Richmond from the 20s and 30s. And every time I leave his place, because I'm driving and I pass these buildings, it's as if I know in my soul I've been there.
Mm.
And then, oh, I did two things. One thing is I had dreams. Sometimes I have dreams about being somewhere in the 30s. And this is when I first moved down here.
Mm.
So what I did was I went to what do you call those people? Past life.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to one of those people and they said to me, it was very interesting. Uh, uh, he said to me, "Oh, he taped all this, by the way. He put me,
Sure.
under hypnosis and
Yeah, yeah.
taping this." And then he said, and I was explaining to him um, what happened in one of my past lives. And because he said to me when before he put me under, he said, "I think you came back to Richmond." That's because he didn't know me, but
Mm.
he thought I came back to Richmond where my family lives. I came back to die.
Ah.
So to make a long story short, after the hypnosis and everything, I was crying because my past life is here in I guess in Richmond. Um I was married and my wife hated me. She hated me
Huh.
so bad she killed my our unborn child.
Oh.
So that was before I went to Richmond. That was when I was my family is from Virginia, so I live in most likely near Williamsburg.
Mm.
So when I got a client in Richmond, then I started having these deja vus, and then I started having these dreams,
Yeah.
and then I came upon your.
Interesting time. Carl Jung might say that synchronicity. It's like you've had all these experiences, and then only after that, temporarily, do you become aware of me, and you're like, maybe I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I'm. There's a lot in there, and what I do with my practice, shall we say, is I try to separate out two things to which I give equal respect, but that I don't have equal ability in.
Mhm.
So there's two sides to dreams. There's the purely clinical, psychological, biological. We have this experience. It takes place in the brain. It relates to our conscious thoughts and unconscious experiences and whatnot. And then there's the other side of it, which is what I lovingly call is the spooky woo. And that side I don't understand well enough to make predictions or
Mhm.
draw distinctions. So that's why I try to stay in my lane on the psychological side of things. Now, and I'm serious when I say I give them equal respect. There is some crazy shit in this world that I cannot explain, and that doesn't mean it's not real. It just means
Yeah.
I can't explain it. So so I use this example as I have a friend who lives half a mile from me. He has told me to my face, and I believe him, Ben, I've had prophetic dreams. I had a dream, and 1 week later, later to the day, exactly that scenario, the place, the people, the words spoken, everything happened exactly as it happened in my dream. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. I believe him. I believe that happened, and it blows my mind. And actually, all of these books are available at BenjaminTheDreamWizard.com. Are full of stories of people reporting events like that, psychic phenomenon, people who had prophetic dreams, say about the Titanic sinking.
Mhm.
And one guy who was like, his wife begged him and begged him not to go on the journey. And, just God love her. She's probably, out of her mind, but just to make her happy so she won't worry, I won't go. And he didn't die because he stayed home. It's like, what do you do with that? Okay, so what was I saying about prophetic dreams and whatnot? If you came to me and asked me, Ben, hey, I had this dream. Ben, can you tell me, is this dream prophetic or not? I can't. I don't know the difference.
Right.
And if you bring to me a dream you say was prophetic, we can still also identify and analyze it from a more purely psychological perspective related to your life. But I've had deja vu. I don't think I've had prophetic dreams. I had maybe one experience with a lucid dream where like I kind of realized I was dreaming, but I didn't have any control. I just was like, this is a dream, isn't it? And I don't know whether I dreamed myself thinking those thoughts and it was, or whether it was truly lucid. But and that's another thing I don't understand well enough to teach, explain what is lucid dreaming. How do you do it? There are experts on those things. Mine is more the what is the personal significance of this experience, this nocturnal vision, I call them, the dreams. What is the meaning of this personal experience to you specifically?
Yeah.
That's what I focus on. Yeah. So, but okay, the other thing I was going to tell you is I asked him. I said, "Are you sure that wasn't just a deja vu thing?" And he was very clear. No, I've had both prophetic dreams and deja vu. Completely different feeling when they're happening. Fair enough. I was so. What else on that? I've got a lot of things where like I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm going to say these things I really believe I know for certain. Other things I don't, but I still believe. Uh, for the longest time in my life, I've thought deja vu was kind of a signal that I was in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where or how I came to that conclusion, but that always felt right to me. Um, I don't know. It's a perspective. I can't prove it.
What do you think about the between the what the past life
Oh
person
yeah.
claimed they got out of me because I was
Mm,
under hypnosis? I mean,
sure.
and getting back to the deja vu and the dream, I was having these dreams. I did have a dream that I was about the same area. It was
Hmm.
just I'm just there, with nothing much going on in the dream. And I think that's where the deja vu came in, because then when I had a deja vu, I said, wait a minute, I've been here before. And then I thought about, well, didn't I dream about this before?
Mm,
And then and another time I was in the area, I'm driving and I saw this house. And it felt like in my soul, I've been there.
mm,
I was there. And I know, and I said, I've
yeah.
never been to this part of the town. It's like, I mean, what do you do with that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I believe those are I believe you are being honest. I believe you had that feeling. I believe that feeling does exist, and other people have had it too. But how to understand it? So, what was I going to say? It was a moment ago about the past life thing. So again, wheelhouse separating spooky woo psychology or hard science or whatever. I think there's a lot of things. I think it's entirely likely that our souls recycle. Now that is not traditional Christian teaching. It is in other um, uh, religions or philosophical traditions. It So if someone says to me they've been around before, it's entirely possible. I have no idea, and I couldn't prove it wrong. I couldn't tell you whether it was right or wrong, but I kind of believe that's likely. That we get some people described as an old soul.
Yeah,
From a
yeah.
very young age, they seem to maybe have wisdom beyond their years or abilities that others didn't, and I mean that gets into some of the astrology stuff, which what is it they said? There was a thing where it's like something is astrology for men. I can't remember what that is. It was a funny joke, but anyway, I'll never be a stand-up comedian. I can ramble, but I could never remember a set. I could never do jokes. Um, well, I was saying about so it is entirely possible that you came around once before, and you're why are people say drawn to specific areas or specific people or specific lines of work? They just feel like it just feels right to them, and it may be because they did it in a previous life or they didn't and they always wanted to, and so they came back to try a different go round. um, I also think it's very likely that we live in a multiverse, but not quite the Marvel way. I this is weird, way off. Like, what was my most yeah, unprovable, bizarre beliefs but the idea that okay, so if we have the idea of a Big Bang,
Mm.
and maybe God said, "Let there be a Big Bang." I don't think those things are irreconcilable, and I don't think they're opposites at all. God or the Big Bang. I think yes. So we've got a Big Bang and the universe expands. There's a theory that at some point it runs out of energy and collapses into another Big Bang, and that each of those is a successive unit. Now, if that goes on for infinity, then anything that is possible will be eventually actual. So the idea that there would be a universe where you and me are reversed. I'm you and you're the dream guy and I'm interviewing you instead. That's a part of the multiverse. But it isn't exactly like it's all happening at the same time. I think it's happening back to back over infinity time. Can I prove that? How certain am I? I'll give that like a 63% chance of being true. I don't. What do I know? But I love theorizing about that kind of stuff too. But again, that's one of the things. If you bring it to me and say, as you did, do you think I had a past life and this drew me to this area? I go, that's entirely possible. I can't prove it. I can't tell the difference. There, to get into the psychological side of things, there's always the risk that a practitioner is malicious or incompetent, and their hypnosis ends up suggesting things that you then believe were your idea. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying that's even likely the case. But there's always the possibility, did this happen legitimately? Did this come from me? Were these ideas simply drawn out, or were they accidentally planted? And then I come to agree, that I now, why do I even bring that up? Because ethical practice is extremely important to me, and I'm always trying to guard against. I don't want to tell you what to believe.
Mm.
I want to ask questions. I want to make suggestions. I don't ever want my authority as a crazy guy who thinks he's a wizard to influence what you believe or tell you you're wrong. So when I talk to people, I say you want to feel it. You want to feel a zing almost from your head to your gut that goes, "Wow, wait, what you just said, that's important." Not because I said it, because you had that feeling of connection in your own mind. Um, I'll just keep rambling forever if
Well,
you
I
don't
just,
stop me.
I
So
just,
go
I
ahead,
just,
go ahead.
so for what you just said, which is
Yeah.
interesting, because I had another client in another neighborhood of Richmond,
Mm,
and this neighborhood I had to go through cemetery, and I'm
mm,
driving through the cemetery. It's not a long cemetery. It's just yeah, you got to go through it in order to make a turn to get them to the my client's house. And I'm doing this, and all of a sudden it hit me. It just came to me. Um, my body was buried there,
oh.
and I'm like,
Did you
oh,
get
of
a
course,
name? Did you get out and go look?
no. I just said this is
Uh,
crazy. I said this is crazy thinking, and I kept on driving.
mm,
But I don't know. I don't know. It just hit me. It said your body is here. I wouldn't know where to look. I mean, and
yeah. No,
it
for
was
sure.
and
Like
the
if I
interesting was it was a very old cemetery, and I think I forgot the name of the cemetery. I think it's one of those cemeteries. Basically, they made what you call that historical. It was a historical
been around
cemetery,
for a while. Yeah.
right? And I'm like, well, and that was it, and I kept on going, but
Yeah.
sometimes I don't. Like the name of my show, the crazy things is in my head.
Yeah.
Crazy things in my head, and I try to say, "Calm down, let's let's look at
Hmm.
this realistically here."
For sure. That's why I'm willing to, I call myself a credulous skeptic. I am willing to believe anything. There's nothing off the table as far as what could be true. My bar for proof is pretty high on most things. Now, when it doesn't matter, I'll speculate on all kinds of things and go, yeah, that's entirely possible. But if I am asked to perform, say, in a specific capacity, to give you the best possible answers for you, for your dream experience, that kind of, we're doing a an interpretation session, then I get real tight on my limits and my ethics. That's one reason too. Like we were talking before we started, I'm like, do you just go live or do you record? You say you record. Me too. So what can people expect when they contact me or whatever? Number one, I'll talk to anybody. If you are human and you have a dream and we can communicate in English, I will talk to you. You don't have to be anybody famous. Actually, I haven't had an interpretation. I've had several scheduled and people had to cancel. Oh, and also I wanted to apologize to you. Like I didn't get your updated message like a week or two ago on Podmatch, and I flaked it. I just didn't know. I had no idea that we had. I was waiting for you to schedule, and it turns out the Calendly doesn't link automatically when I'm the guest. So I apologize for that. Anyway, I wanted to say that to your face. I apologize. But okay, so I'll talk. Number one, I'll talk to anybody. Number two, I always record. I do not go live. I go live on my video game streams, but that's just messing around. When I'm doing these, I treat them very very seriously. I don't want to know anything about the dream until we talk. I don't want to let my thoughts and speculation take over and come to conclusions, I want to do it together. I want to hear what you say. We're going to talk about it. We're not going to give me any time to think up my own thoughts. We're just going to go live. No, it's not, like I said, not live, it's recorded. Um, and the reason for that is extremely high ethical standards. Number one, there's two things I won't talk about. If you are having dreams, nightmares perhaps, about past sexual assault or being abused as a child, I will decline politely. I want you to take that to a professional. I don't want to do this. We're not going to air your dirty laundry, and I don't want to take the risk of doing it wrong in a extremely short format. It can do too much damage. So I actually decline. I've had to turn one person down for that reason. Like, I'm sorry, I just can't talk about that with you. I think you should see. So, and then we talked about how to get in touch with professional resources. But the reason, okay, that was number one. Number two, the reason I record is that I do not and will not and have never released an episode without permission given after we're done recording, because sometimes things are too personal and you didn't know who was going to go there. And now, luckily, I've never had anyone refuse. It's been a comfortable enough discussion. What I have offered is, how do you feel about it if I cut out that 30 seconds where you talked about that thing that I think might be embarrassing to you? And they're like, I don't even remember I said that. I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'm looking out for you. So are you comfortable with releasing the episode if I cut out that information? They're like, oh yeah, that's perfect. And then you'll never know what episode that was in or what information I cut, because I'm going to protect that, protect privacy, protect people's reputation, or, it's not the Jerry Springer show. I'm not looking to embarrass anyone. So, and then I also promise people, any reason or no reason at all, 10 years from now, you want your interview off my channel, it's gone. No questions asked. And I actually got put to the test a couple years back. One of my guests said, I would like, as you promised, I am requesting you take down the episode, and I did. I believe I know why, but I never asked. I just took it down.
Mm.
And there you go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't. There's no like good reason and bad reason. It is your product. Oh, and these last thing that I'm going to throw back to you. These interviews are also your product as much as mine. They're like, hey, can I share this with my friend? Please share it. You can download it. You can upload the whole thing on your channel if you have one. You can cut it up and make, stitches and duets on Twitch. I don't care what you do with it. It's your interview and my interview. It's just up on my channel, and maybe someday I'll get monetized. I'm not even monetized on YouTube, so I don't worry about that. I'm mostly hawking the books and and whatnot, so I don't worry about that too much. But yeah, really, if you're going to do this, you got to have really high ethical standards about how you conduct that practice. So I try to hold myself to that.
So, I mean, you can use your psychology to tell me that I'm crazy about
Mm.
what
I
I just
could,
told you.
I could, but I don't believe it. And you know, it's interesting. So I call myself a crazy guy who thinks he's a wizard, and that's because it's funny. I have a very tongue-in-cheek, I don't take myself too seriously type of thing. But I also feel like broadening out that world, that word. There's Everybody believes something is a little crazy. And what do you mean by that? They can't prove it. It sounds strange to other people. Whatever. I don't consider. We for the longest time we had in the mental health area, there was this. Oh, you can't say crazy. You can't call people crazy. Well, now, number one, I don't do it because it's offensive. I don't refrain from using that. I say because it's not accurate. I mean, the Greek, and this is great too. The Greek word for crazy was akrasia or acrasia, and krasia is like control, roughly. Acrasia, out of control. So you think of an apple cart rolling down, rolling down a steep hill in a city. That apple cart is akrasia. It is uncontrolled motion. It's going to go where it's going to go. And again, it has no brakes and it has no one steering. So that's what crazy is. It's like it's kind of a pure state of chaos or unpredictability. Um, but then there's the common pejorative or colloquial understanding of well, it means someone is out of their mind. It means someone is not in control of their
Yeah,
thoughts and,
yeah.
and stuff like that. And most people aren't, even folks with mental health issues aren't necessarily crazy in that way, because a lot of folks, they can identify thoughts of like, yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I think it's true anyway. Now, I just said that shit about the multiverse and uh, reincarnation. I can't prove any of that. I mean, that's crazy talk. But fair enough. It's crazy talk, and it is what it is. Most people have some symptoms ish of a mental illness, but it's a matter of degree. You know, it's like the difference between being sad and sad for a reason. Your spouse or child or parent died. Your dog died. You're sad. There's a good reason. Depression is like sad for no reason. So it's like when things are out of whack, out of balance. The idea of say paranoia. It's like, well, there's a joke. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. But paranoia is it's just a natural fear response to threatening stimuli
Mhm.
that's out of proportion to the real danger in the immediate environment. So if you feel threatened where there's no danger, that's what we call paranoia. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with feeling threatened. Actually, we need that. It's an evolutionary
Mm.
adaptation. Without fear, we'd be everyone. Every human without fear died a long time ago because they didn't run from the tiger in the bushes. Like, oh, here, kitty, kitty. No, don't eat me. Not like that. Anyway, I'll stop. I'll stop. We're just,
So,
mm.
if someone wants to have you read their dreams, they go on your website, right?
They can, yeah. Just swallowed that wrong. Excuse me. Uh, yeah, so they can go to benjaminthedreamwizard.com and there's a contact page. You can reach out to me across dozens of social medias. I'm on X at Wizard Benjamin, so it's usually at Benjamin the Dream Wizard or at Wizard Benjamin. And I kind of like that. I've never really talked about why that form. There was a book I read a while back called The Sword of Truth by Terry Goodkind. I'm in Portland, Oregon, so he's a Pacific Northwest author.
Mm.
Great series of books set in the high fantasy realm, very creative twists to how he solves issues, and a very gritty, dark, disturbing, often world he sets it in. Not exactly Tolkien, but anyway, his his conception of wizards was that it was a title that you aspired to and it was granted credentially, so it's almost like saying, I'm a doctor in a way, but there's no credentialing for wizards, so I can call myself a wizard. Again, there's no professional organization to come after me. God help me that there never is. That would be that would be funny though. If so, I consider myself as a wizard Benjamin, or if you were to see, Dr. Davidson, if that's what you were to say. But I like using first names. So this guy was, the wizard in the book was Wizard Zedicus Zul Zorander, and they called him Wizard Zorander. And I always thought Wizard Benjamin. That has a ring to it. I like that. So, anyway, this was all about contacting me. My brain. Oh, you're kind of getting an idea of how I do the dream interpretations. When I say crazy too, I mean I'm not even in control of my own thoughts sometimes. In that way, there's an explosion of ideas that comes when people mention specific things. And if this was us doing a dream interpretation, I would be that explosion of ideas would come surrounding the imagery you describe, and I'm trying to see through your eyes. Then I start asking questions. Here I'm making pronouncements. I'm telling you what I think based on these explosion of thoughts. But usually for the dreams, it's like, okay, I just had all these thoughts. Let me tell you about what that made me think. And then you tell me if any of those feels like we're pulling on the right thread. So yeah, the contact page at benjaminthedreamwizard.com. And if you just put in, you just Google Benjamin the Dream Wizard, you'll find like dozens of things. I'm on I'm on X, I'm on Blue Sky, that new one that all the people left X for. I'll go over there too. Why not? I'm on Facebook. I can't think of a single one. Never mind. I'm all over the place. Just Google me. Google my name, Benjamin the Dream Wizard.